Right. All right. So I see that it's now at 14.4, 14.5. And then now I'm going to shut off V27. So that these guys can stop going down because we don't need them anymore. Like initially, these guys were contributing to the gas that needs to go into those chambers. But now that's okay. I don't need it anymore because what I'm going to do is close all the outputs 4, 5, 6. And what that does is just close everything off because like inlet 4, 5, 6 are both closed, as well as outputs, which means that it's basically sectioned off. Meaning that even if I were to open that, so long as there's no pressure here, if the pressure is at 0, I can open that to change out, the vessels as I did. It was open before, right? And the pressure wasn't coming out through that thing. That's because it's been closed off from the series. And that's what we're doing here. We're closing off and making sure that, in this diagram, right, these would have been open. We're closing them off and then opening only the vents, because the vents are essentially the kind of like the channels in which the recovery occurs, And so we're just opening up these vents all the way. And remember, in these diagrams, that when I'm opening these vents, I'm opening these valves. And then the recovery pump will then go through here, go through the filter, condense to the storage tank, and then into what you want to be active. Right? So we're just opening that up. And then we're going to just turn it on. Okay? So I've got those vents open. And then I'm going to turn on, making sure that that line is open. And I'm going to start it. And it's quite loud. So that's the recovery pump. And it's going to essentially help the main pump in pumping out the rest of these guys, these pressure levels, and making it go down all the way to 0.5. And when it's down, and I'm just like continuing to open this, and when it's down to 0.5, the recovery pump can't detect pressure anymore, it thinks it's done, and it'll shut off. And then that's when I would that's when I would close these vents, so that they're completely sectioned off. The vents, the output, the input, all of that will be closed so that I can basically purge it out through the back. So then, let's just pretend that that machine that is currently on right now has shut off, and those pressure readings say 0.5, and I've turned off the vent. I would then come up here and open this. If I open this right now, CO2 will come out. I won't even try, because just trust me, CO2 will come out. And then once I have enough pressure here, then I can just open up the output so that I can get the flow going. So now the inputs are open, the outputs are now open, and I would consider that CO2, supercritical CO2, is now flowing through these vessels. And then once I have all of that, because this is already built out, and once that's built out, the pressure will then start to focus on pressurizing the filter kettle, and we'll see that happen. Because remember that when it reaches that pressure level, 21 megapascal or 22, there will be that switch. Where is that thing? Here. That will then switch and make these filter kettle kind of start to pressurize too. And remember that we're waiting for this to hit 18. And when this hits 18, the switch that controls the filter kettle, so this is the switch that starts to focus the pressure of the filter when these have been satisfied at 22 MPa. When these reaches 22 MPa, this switch will come on and will start to focus on filling up the filter to 18 MPa. When we reach 18 MPa, it's going to focus on filling up these separators. Pressure. So right now we're at 10. So we're waiting for that to go to 18, and when that goes to 18, it'll become concentrated in building this up to 10 and like around 6, 5.5 to 6, and then we will consider this entire thing to be running smoothly. So right now you see that the CO2 flow is a little bit on the low side, and that's because we don't want to explode these filter kettles, and so you would want the CO2 flow to not go so hard, because this is only one kettle versus when there's 3 vessels involved. There's just much more pressure going through and much more CO2 flow going through than if we're just talking about filling up the filter kettle. And so we're just waiting on that to occur. So I'm going to pause it until it reaches 18. Actually, you know what? What I'm going to do is I'm going to open up this thing and show you guys. I've taken out this ring that's got a, it's probably too loud. I'm gonna put on my headphones. This is a ring that goes through and is threaded, and it basically prevents it from popping out, very easily. And so I'm using this to kind of lift this off. And that's the filter. It's very thick metal filter. I'm trying to focus it. Well, oh, there it is. So it's got like these threads very finely woven thread. And I've got here my O-ring to not have metal on metal contact. And then here I've got my hemp, which is very dry, because remember that the surface tension of water is not conducive to permeation of, it acts like a barrier. Water acts like a barrier, especially for non-polar substances, because water is polar. So you just really want that to be as dry as possible. And then I'm just going to open these guys up, and that'll essentially be it. And then I would then clean these up. Well, actually, I don't need to clean this up. This came from a cleaning run, so it's technically very clean. And that'll be it. And what else can I say? I'm just really waiting for it to start running. So we'll see. So right now, this has gone up to working pressure. This is not even close to being at 0.5, so we're waiting on that. But you see that this is 18, and this is basically 10, and this is 5 and 5, and we see that the CO2 is back to running 600 to 800 for the flow. And so we know for a fact that it's running very well. So we're just essentially, once that's running, what I will then need to do, since remember this is a cleaning run, I would then go over here and essentially put alcohol in this. So I'm going to take my alcohol and I'm going to open it, put on my safety glasses. It's on. And I'm going to go over here and I'm going to fill that up. Or not totally, because I mean it won't use the whole thing. It'll just use like that much of it. Because otherwise it'll just evaporate, because it won't be used and it'll just sit there. And I'm going to open up these valves, okay, and then I'm going to turn on the deputy pump via, oh, it's already on, perfect. So it's already on. Make sure that there's flow, and I can check that using that valve. So that's a checking valve, and that's running. So I know for a fact that that we are now officially in a cleaning run. So I just check my levels again, make sure they're still good, nothing is out of the ordinary. That's running well. And that's it. That's basically running now. And then later on, of course, we then do the repeat of emptying these out once the time comes. All right, well, I hope you guys learned everything that I know about this machine. Obviously, every machine is different, but that is essentially the gist of it. And then when I have some time to show, then I will show all the other stuff that we haven't seen yet.